Evening, everybody, and welcome to this session of evolving CIO's role as being a business enabler. And I think as part of we spend next 1 hour, I would like to welcome my panelists over here, which we will be having a conversation around a very interesting and I think apt topic of the day, where everybody is now talking about that the CIOs are no more CIOs, or they are no more chief information officers, so-called, become chief involvement officers, chief integration officers, but just not only information officers. So let me welcome Ganesh, Gaurav, Ashok to be part of this panel. Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining into it. Also thanking Sanjay and IT World for giving us this forum to talk to all of you and discuss about it. Next 1 hour we will just spend, it's not going to be a usual session of me moderating, asking questions about it. It's just like going to be a conversational part. Our aspect or our thought will be that we can bring some facets of the CIO or the less of CIO, but more of the technology or the leaders as such, which are now emerging and taking the center stage of turning the wheels around, not from the technology perspective alone, but making the journey around business enablement, which is the topic that it talks about. Yep. So having said that and setting the context about it, why and how it changed, I still remember that it used to be in the early days a small corner or someplace in the organization, a room which used to be having a large, printer and an EDP room. It was used to be written there outside about it, and a non-client, neither excited nor anxious, outside of the realm of it, nobody questioning, asking anything, used to be set up, sitting out over there, so-called EDP manager, right? And from that EDP manager to a CIO who have now become and turned into more like the, taking and sitting on the board itself, having the say. Actually, to be honest, the new unicorns are all data and tech driven. So effectively looking at the technology has changed the faces of how we do the business and what we are doing about it. It would be very interesting to hear such aspects of it from Ganesh, Gaurav, Ashok, and one more member who will be joining us little in while about it. He got stuck, and looking forward for him also to share his views about it and taking it forward. So I thought it will be good. I just set the context and talk about it, and then have my fellow panelists to talk about and give their gist about it at the starting, or put the context from their perspective, what they think, and then we take this conversation forward. Yeah. So maybe if we if you all allow, then I'll first request Ganesh, if you can just share your views in first 2 minutes about it, and then Gaurav and Ashok, and then we take it forward. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bharat, and thanks for having me here, Sanjay, and Enterprise IT World team. Bharat, you were bang on. I think the topic is something which is extremely relevant in today's time. CIO's role has completely evolved. We are no longer, like you rightly pointed out, the people who are at the back office. I would argue that in many of the cases, in some of the industries that were there, which were already ahead of the curve on digital adoption, they probably weren't back office even before the pandemic. But pretty much now for many of the other industries that were slightly behind on the digital adoption curve, or for organizations within industries that were behind the digital adoption curve, that has completely changed now, because people have realized that the only way you could get across some of the things during the current period, and I wouldn't refer it to as a new normal, it is the normal now, is by having technology enablement. So the role of the CIO, what has really changed? The biggest difference to my mind is that what has changed is we have moved from just running the business, where someone came and told you that, hey, I needed something to be there and you needed something to be coming in. And it was more about business continuity, just running the business, to saying that how can you really transform the business? So IT, I think, has moved through being one where you're running business to being more of services to enhance the business performance and improve operational efficiencies, to also coming in with a lot more value addition. I think that is where we are seeing the shift moving towards. CIOs and the tech teams are seen as the value drivers for the organization, as more and more technology permeates across processes in the organization and right across the value chain, including to also looking at some of the things where we are seeing new business models emerging, especially what happened during the pandemic. I'd be happy to talk about some of those as we jump on further into the conversation. But for starting thoughts, Bharat, this is where I would really see the role of the CIO and the tech team changing, which is on adding a lot more value to the organization and being change agents in enabling the new things to start coming into play.
Great. Thanks. I appreciate it, Ganesh. And I think some of the points which you highlighted about particularly like being a change agents and pandemic and all, we will mull over it when we continue our journey for next 1 hour or so something. But I think absolutely bang on when you talk about that. And let's hear what Gaurav you have to share and talk about it. And I see Ashok, you have also joined in. If you can just turn on your camera, that will be awesome, buddy. Yeah, over to you, Gaurav.
Hey, thanks, Bharat, and thanks for having me here. Absolutely. I think the role of the CIO is changing, right? And I think there were some acronyms and full forms that Bharat you gave. Probably I'll add a few to it. A lot of people are saying that they are chief insights officers now, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about the data, right? And like you correctly said, all the new unicorns and startups are all looking at data. The interesting thing that I've seen as a transformation over the last, I'll say 4-5 years is that, actually, if I'll go beyond before that, right, you were talking about EDP. And if you actually, sort of put it in the context of data, right, what was the attempt of EDP or actually having a computerized system earlier was to make sure that a lot of the things that we did on paper got converted into tech. So there was a data capture which was happening. And that somewhere or the other became a system of record, right? That was sort of the first thing. Over the last 5-7 years, the CIO's role changed, or maybe I'll say maybe 8 years, 10 years. The CIO's role changed to try and see how that individual and the team can stop only being data capturing mechanisms, which included all your networks and desktops and laptops or whatever. Finally, at the end of the day, what are they trying to do? They're trying to establish connectivity and data capture, to getting to a point where they can actually harness some of that data and provide information back to the organization to say, this is what is happening. Am I secure as an organization? How much uptime do I have? What are the SLAs that I have? So that's information being given back to the organization. Is my ERP running fine or not? Can I upgrade my ERP, etc. Right? So that is what we are sort of looking at. From data to information. And now if you look at it, how do you really harness the power of all of this data? Because every device in the organization, whether the CIO does it or doesn't do it, out of the box sort of connects and is able to give you data and information now, because there's already inbuilt dashboards and analytics, right? Then how do you really get it back to the next level, right? Or take it to the next level of insights, right? And that's where the role of the CIO comes in. Because the CIOs now really understand the business processes. They have a seat on the table. They have a say, and they're creating, with this insights, they're able to create an impact on 3 levels, right? And I'll leave this, as a thought, and we'll sort of drive it further. Level 1, the way I look at it, is operational efficiencies. And that's what Ganesh sort of alluded to, processes, efficiency. How do you really drive it? The second thing, which Ganesh also did mention, was how do you really create an impact of new business models and not really driving top line, but also, bottom line, but also top line growth, right? How can we really use the data which is coming out as a differentiator? And that's where the role of the CDO is becoming very, very prominent, because, that's the individual who's trying to drive with new business models through the data. But third, which is often missed out, is the point of creating actually a human impact. Right? How can you use technology to enhance safety? Right? How can you enhance, better training so that, the worker is protected and the worker is more safe in the factory? How can you use really technology? So I've sort of seen, for example, in the factories, wherever you're using specific kind of gases, a technology gadget, which the CIOs today are putting on employees, which sort of tells them that if there is a lot of a certain kind of gas which is not good for that certain employee, then that employee has to sort of leave that place, right? How do you ensure safety? Even with COVID, we've seen so many video analytics solution which says whether you're wearing a PPE kit or not, etc. Right? So it's really evolving, and this is going to be an interesting conversation to see how CIOs really transforming themselves, and what they need to do to really transform to be able to create impact in all the three realms. So
I think, yeah. Sorry,
no,
something.
I'm
Oh, okay. I think very nice insight, former chief insight officer, if I have to put it that way. Very interesting part what you said, and what could be better coming from the person who is heading the IT for a pharma company. And these 2 years had been, in some sense, I would say, traumatized or traumatic for many people. Many of us have gone through that journey, what has happened about it and all that. But effectively, we all collectively together, along with the technology, has helped us to continue the momentum of the business. If not for IT, then we would have been, I'm sure the information still would have passed, but we would have been doing pigeon flying, right? The age-old manner of transmitting and sharing the information. So, Gaurav, what you talked about, and data is the new oil. So I hear what you are talking about, and taking it further, Ashok, Eddie, your 2 cents on it, buddy.
Yeah, this topic is very close to the hearts of everyone here, and I'm sure it's something which will be of great interest of the people who are going to listen to this as well. I understand. Yeah, so I think much has been said. No matter whatever you call it, chief intelligence officer or integration officer or whatever. So it is like wearing different hats. So I think really things have really gone very much different in, I would say, this change is not, I don't think this change has happened post pandemic. I think it has happened much earlier. Probably it has got a little accelerated during the pandemic because of various reasons we all know. But it is no more a support role, a support leader role. It is no more a functional role. I think it is really evolving into a strategic business leader role. So it's all about how you connect to the business, how much you understand, what type of insights you can actually provide for creating business value. I think it's all about, it's no more about running those servers and making the ERP upgrades or getting it to a new ERP version. Really, I don't think anyone is bothered whether you are in this version or that version, or what software you're running. Basically, everybody is really looking at what value is actually bringing to the business, and that is where the CIO has a golden opportunity to connect the value with the business, so that the business really gets a different level of benefit in terms of business value, and not just about technology or technology adoption. Really, technology, as we all of us know, has really become commoditized, but insights and business value is still to be sort of unearthed. As all of us know, that a lot of investments have gone in, a lot of big projects have also gone in, and it's going on every day. But really, CIO has a big role to ensure that these investments are really adding differentiated capabilities and differentiated values to the business. So if the value is not coming and the differentiation is not coming through for the business, then it's just traditional IT, which is no more there today. That is not the expectation. And why is it not the expectation? Because companies are really looking forward to this. There is a reason. That's what I feel, because they are also trying to react to what's happening. So the ecosystem where they operate, where the other companies, if they have to compete and survive and thrive and grow and sustain, there is no other option. So that is where this connecting cord of CIO will really play a big role, and that is really evolving. And this I strongly believe it's not going to be the same after a decade. It's going to be even further different. So, and it's no more a cost driver or it's no more up times or keeping the lights on, not about infrastructure and all that. It's all about business value. And then if you are able to connect, then great. Otherwise, sorry, you are at the right job, but cannot be the right fit. So, so that is where it is evolving. And then I see the business leadership also really aligned to this thought more than, what really otherwise being thought, because end of the day, we'll have to understand and accept that they're the customer. So if they are sensing that value, things will move. Otherwise, it will not move. Yeah, that is my 2 cents. To this discussion as an opening thought.
Great, Ashok. I'll say Ashok C because we have Ashok K also as part of it. So if it's okay with you, right? Otherwise, it can get little confusing. But absolutely, a valid point around that, Ashok. And if I put it, what you had actually put it out, and if I can sum it out in a manner that the business and the technology are so interwoven with each other now that segregating it one from the other is just not possible. They have become more like a simian twins, right? And one without the other cannot survive or sustain on its own. And hence, that value is something which you're talking about is very necessary for the person who is sitting on that table to bring it out to the organization about it, and rather just talking about technology, which is in Hindi, if we just call it as dabba fixing, right? Box fixing kind of stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Ashok, welcome. Thanks for joining. And if we can just understand your thought about it and share it out as such in quick 2 minutes around that. And we Milan also joining in from UK, right? So welcome aboard, Milan too. Yep.
Thanks, Bharat.
Hi, Milan. Hi, everyone. And this is an interesting topic, IT as a business enabler and technology for technology being converted to everything for business. So, as I think, as all our friends already have would have pointed out, that it started with the department, then it went with the technology, then it went with the business. So as of now, IT as a business enabler, and going forward, it's going to be IT driven everywhere. Because one of the major differentiator between two similar organizations is going to be the technology. And we are going to drive the technology through technology as well as through management. So the roles, whatever the roles may be, CXO related to IT, CIO, CDO or CTO, more it is towards not only technology, but management, liaising with business and translating business into our requirements, and then going ahead and satisfying the KRS and KPIs of business. So although being a cost center, now IT is so integrated with business that I think already our friends pointed out that without the technological advancement, of course, related to business, the competition is going to be very tough. And more and more dependence on technology is already there. So how to do better? Now it lies at the hands of the business heads, the CEOs, the directors, partners, managing directors, etc. And slowly we are also seeing a shift from discussing technology to discussing the business objectives. So what we are also done in our organization and in previous organizations too, to the limited possibility of business side understanding, the top management understanding. Even today, even the individual owned organizations, the partnership organizations, promoter-based organizations, and the MNCs. So everywhere up to the board, they understand technology. So they are also maturing on the technology side. So we may be surprised sometimes to find these IT savvy individuals sitting as a CMO, CFO, CEO, where they would advise you that you take this version or this, that, which sometimes we also may not be aware of the latest technology, which means they also started learning because it is survival of the fittest. So there now our role becomes technology plus management, where we have to select the right technology, and at the board level, at the CEO level, or the MD level, or the partners level, breaking down the mission and business objectives and translating them into IT objectives, and seeing that how these business objectives can be achieved through cost reduction, time reduction, reduced TCO, increased ROI, and a lot of other financial ratios. Now, even the financial ratios are discussed, and we are also getting into, say, what the CFO needs, what the CEO needs, and each particular CMO or the COO, the production heads, what they need, and thinking from their shoes, what they need. So what we are also moving ahead is we are doing the multitasking from the management point of view. And now most of the CIOs, CTOs, CDIOs, etc. are invited up to the boardroom because the need is being felt. And irrespective of the reporting structure, now the independence is improved. Whether or not unofficial or officially, the CXOs of IT were reporting to the CFO. So each and every party is approved by the CFO. That situation has changed over a period of time, and now they understand that IT has to be involved starting from the vision, mission, and business objectives, and should be taken forward as a team. So a lot of synergy based on latest technology, as AI ML is also proceeding, and a lot of IoT.
So Ashok, just to interject, I think perhaps we'll ask Milan also to add about few. And many of the pointers which you are actually talking about right now will be otherwise we won't be left with many talk to talk about it, if you don't mind. So we have all those pointers which you are talking right now to cover as we convert for next 45 minutes, right? Let's go with Milan, and Milan, if you can give your thoughts about in quick 2 minutes, then we open as a quick conversation between 6 of us as such, right?
Bharat, can you just please repeat the question for me?
Okay. Honestly, there was no question.
Okay.
The question was very simple in terms of that this is an open first conversation we are doing. Second, more importantly, before we open the conversation, it was just to set a context about what do you think as the topic which talks about that the CIO's role of being the evolving role of the CIOs as a business transformation leader. What's Milan's take on that one? Just in 2 minutes about that.
Yeah. The way in which I see that now the CIO role is getting evolved is primarily into the 4 major areas. One, being an operator. So that means to ensure and keeping the lights on. Second, as a technologist, where the CIO is able to evangelize the new capabilities within the organization. Third, as a strategist, where he is partnering with business to not only talk about the efficiency improvement, but also to come out with new business or revenue model. Then the last one, according to me, is being a catalyst. So the guy who is able to lead the disruptive change, how the organization has to work. So these are, in a very nutshell, 4 areas where CIO's roles are getting is evolving, and how he is getting evolved or involved. Sorry.
I love the word you used called disruptive. We have been dropping that name or that word all the time these days, saying everybody loves to be called himself or herself to be called as, and without being gender biased here, that the CIOs are now disruptive or disruption agents. I do not know whether it's good, bad, ugly. Maybe we'll discuss about that. But one cliche that comes to my mind is that everybody, and I heard many places this being said, that in 2 years, we are now trying to do the 2 month, 2 months job is being done in 2 years by taking the digital transformation forward and all that, where I heard some of the views from you, all of you also as panelists, which we just guys put forward about that. What do you guys think? I mean, anybody who wants to take, is it really that we are in a hurry to get things going about it and push and pump? Because there is also another, thought about it. You make things in a hurry or in a jiffy, and in the process you break some of the things also, because hindsight view goes missing around that. So is that disruption? Is that being disruptive is going to disrupt or becoming disruption as a process in the end about it? Any thoughts around that? And how should we manage?
Like this?
Yeah, over to you.
I don't think, because the amount of red tape we have, that will never allow you to do immediately. There is no immediately. So I think we need not worry on that. As far as time taken by the CIO or the CTO is concerned, I think mostly we do initially the validations based on business requirements or based on business objectives. And even though you take it to a top gear, instead of using a waterfall model, you use a latest whatever model. Still, I think there are still red tape, and that will anyway take its time. So I don't think we should worry about sudden impact. Sudden impact, as of now, I think most of the organizations are procedural. Very little that, very little happens in a very fast mode. So I think that we not worry.
Yeah, just to give a perspective, maybe in last 2 years, a lot of red tapeism has been cut down, because had it been that case and procedural part of it, then most of the organizations would have been shut down for almost 6 or 9 months. And the credit goes here to the entire organization, but the persons who are sitting at the technology head also to saying they made it happen with a couple of days to go over. So maybe you have a perspective. I think let's hear.
Ganesh, you have go ahead.
Thanks, Gaurav. So, Bharat, I would, have a counter view to what Ashok was saying. So I come from the pharma industry.
Yeah.
And as an industry, we were very face-to-face. If you think of the way the doctor meets their patients, or the way the companies engage with doctors, or right through the value chain. Pharma as an industry was slightly behind the digital adoption curve in many of the areas. Some of them we were fairly all right, but especially on front office, many of them I thought there was significant things we could have picked up from other industries like a CPG or like retail. So coming to the point of when the lockdown hit, there were challenges where patients were scared to go to the clinics. Obviously, we could not meet the doctor because either their place was locked down, or doctors were unwilling to meet people other than patients because their business was something they were looking at. And more importantly, around March of last year, we reached out to a bunch of doctors to say, so how could we help them? So we reached out about 2,000 odd doctors. And the one thing that we heard coming across all of them was they told us, I'm really worried about my patients, and the business model needs to change, and I really don't know what to do about it. So the ask that they had for us was to come up with a virtual platform where they could engage their existing patients, not just a telemedicine platform, but a patient engagement platform, if you will. So that's what we did in a space of, so from April onwards last year, we started working on this, came up with a platform in a space of 3 months. So June 1st, we launched our first beta version, something which, at least in the pharma industry, was, we were talking of waterfall and the other models that are there. I think Agile is something I've not seen too much in some of these. So that completely changed. And, if pre-pandemic, if you'd asked me, would people work remotely in pharma, I would have laughed, because that kind of a concept did not work. And you expected people to come to office, even if it was corporate, and you didn't need to. Similarly, these kind of things like coming up with platforms, looking at disruptive ways of coming up with newer business models is something that I think came across largely through the pandemic. And I think that is here to stay. So if you were to look at the ways in which people are engaging now, people have realized, and especially the sales teams, if you will, have realized that there is a better way of doing things. You did not necessarily need to go across and meet the doctor. So in pharma, you do have doctors, depending on the kind of priority or the way in which they look at it, are met 3 times in a month, 2 times in a month, and so on and so forth. So what people realized was, hey, if it's 3 times in a month, maybe I can do once still in a remote manner. I do twice in a face-to-face kind of a manner. Or we leave it to the doctor to decide what do they want. How often would they want to meet our person rather than us dictating it? So I think these are kind of things which have emerged. And what has really changed, to Ashok's point, and I completely agree with him on that, is that it has now become a lot more collaborative with business. So the boundary that was there between the business and technology, I think is just completely blurred now. Business understands technology a lot more. There are many cases where I wouldn't even call it shadow IT. I think there are people from the business team who play the role of digital leaders, and vice versa as well. So people from technology working with the business to saying, okay, so what is the evolving business model? What are you looking for? What are the needs? How can we really look at it? And to that point, what you mentioned is the places where you see a lot of things that are being done and dropped because the needs are changing. So if you were to look at the times when you had the lockdown, different zones that were there, you had a green zone, yellow zone, red zone, and so on. You needed to have different kind of things that worked for different kind of people. As that restriction went away, that no longer exists now. So I think what is changing is the evolving business context, basis which the kind of models that you are coming up with, solutions you're coming up with, has really changed. It has forced you to be more agile. It has forced you to be more flexible. It's forced you to be more scalable. And all this, of course, with the underlying thing of security that you need to have to make sure that people can access remotely. It is now extended to people who are extended parts of your value chain, be they suppliers, be they your customers, be they stockists. So, I think it has gone across to all parts of it when you're looking at such kind of things. And this is something, while I've given you one example from the front office, this cuts right across. So in R&D, we have volunteers who are there for clinical trials. We have volunteer management systems now because you no longer have the ability. In some cases, they can't come physically and check what's going on.
Right.
You have ability to do remotely too. So that's the point I'm trying to make.
Absolutely, Ganesh. I think you touched upon a point which said the digital is the mantra. And the digital is not about digitizing or digitalizing. It is about how the end user actually consumes with the little bit or negligible human intervention. And I think it is not only driven by the doctors, it is also driven by the patients who were very reluctant to walk into a hospital or a clinic also during these times about it. But Gaurav, you had something to add to this.
Yeah, no. So I think, Bharat, to your point, to say that, is the speed, disrupting, the industry in a manner where, the industry itself will get disrupted, right? Absolutely not. I don't think that's the case. Predominantly because of 2-3 reasons and hypotheses that I hold. And I think with my interactions with so many CIOs globally, I think those sort of stand their test of time. One is that, if you, and I'll sort of go back to this book that I had, recently read from Chandramouli Venkatesan, a book called Catalyst. And I'm sure some of you have read it. If you haven't, highly recommended. So in which he talks about the fact that, for a leader to be successful, the leader should have been in the trenches and really rolled up their sleeves and done the work, right? I think all of us, on this panel and all our listeners have actually been in the trenches, right? We've done, the heavy lifting when it comes to technology rollouts and technology adoption and things like that, right? So to say that we will do things in a hurry and then not do them right, just because it's a check in the box, I don't think it's nature. It's not our nature. It's not natural to us. So, we have to do something which is right, and it has to be done correctly. I think the reason why this perception is there is because for the last, whatever budgets that we wanted and whatever transformation we as IT leaders were trying to promote, at the CEO level, board level, or at the leadership level, business leadership level, suddenly with the pandemic, there has been a lot more uptake and the openness to adopt technology is far greater. Hence, the approval cycle has been cut short, right? Like we had, emergency approvals for drugs and, vaccination. We've had emergency approvals for IT projects within the organization, right? And that has really kept us really, really busy. But to say that are we, putting the wrong technology in place or it's being implemented in, incorrectly, that's definitely not the case. With so many conversations that I've had over the last 2 years as well, to really, cross-pollinate to say, hey, what are you guys doing? What are the best practices that you're implementing? What can we do? Et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of stuff which is happening in a structured manner. I think it's happening at a much, much more accelerated pace. And that's why you see the whole IT and the ITES industry, the tech industry, the developer community, right, are red hot right now, right? There's so many jobs available. People are asking for, 70-80% hike is become the norm in the industry today, right? I think it's a bubble, but everybody, whoever can are definitely cashing on this. But at the end of the day, good work is getting done. I think that's all I wanted to add.
So I think hearing you what you just said, and I'm just summing it up. So what was it, if you say it is nothing to do from a perspective of, it's not that we are in a hurry, we are doing all that measures which are required, whether testing, validation, POCs, piloting, in addition to security validation, testing, and all kind of. But then again, looking at it, we are able to turn it around very fast, like saying 3 months and bang out. Had it not been, I would say it's after Corona and before Corona, right? What changed? Is it we changed, or is it business? I mean, saying business changed would be very difficult about it. Or is it that you're saying now we have become much together in a collaborative, or maybe we have become more subtle and saying, hey, forget about it, I need to get it done, and started taking accountability and ownership. Any thoughts around that? Those who have not spoken and want to give that before I come back to Gaurav. Yeah, Ashok.
So basically, I have a view which sort of I would say mixes what Ganesh and Gaurav was saying. I think it's two very valid points, well thought out, and they're coming from their experience. And I have just want to add one more dimension to this entire discussion what we're having on this, of the speed of delivery and all that. I think it is many times the pressure is on to deliver fast because of the competition of what the company is going through in the marketplace, and that is actually what is pushing the business leaders to take such aggressive measures to sort of impress upon IT to deliver it faster and all that. So if you really look at the whole thing, this is where I think there is a clear connection which I can draw as to the role of CIO, our discussion point. Okay, so the way I look at it is, if being CIO, you are able to put your ears on the ground of see what's happening and what's emerging. Okay, not what's happening, what is emerging in the market, what can actually potentially become a competitive disadvantage to you, where your business leaders will get challenged, and where you can probably get into a pressurized situation. So if you are able to see through that, and if you are able to come up with these ideas, and on your own, you can actually start off a small POC and sort of demonstrate, and probably most of the groundwork could be done even early. So that's the type of role what actually CIO should do. He is not really bombarded with an idea, and it has to be delivered because of very valid reasons, right? So we cannot say no to a business challenge. So because it is pretty well articulated, and you know it. So if you are able to turn it around in such a way that you have done some work, and most of the background is already ready, and if this comes in, you can actually take it on, or you can actually present it as your thought, and take it into a sort of collaborative POC, and not be pushed, but you drive it, and you sort of come up with this idea to sort of start this. So this can actually turn around the situation from a challenge of delivering fast to be prepared with stuff where you are able to sort of manage it much better. So this is just another thought. While I do agree with what Ganesh and what Gaurav has said, is very valid, but this is just another angle to it.
Great. Milan, are you trying to say something? Otherwise, I would just explain to what Ashok C was saying. Yep.
No, Bharat. I just wanted to add what Ganesh, Gaurav, as well as Ashok was mentioning. See, gradually, if you see what has happened, why that technology adoption has gone faster. in the last 1 year or so. The major reason you will see is a kind of democratization of the IT. Here you will see that now the way in which you buy a grocery, the way in which now the shopping experience you have, these are the very small things, but it has enabled a big change management within the user community. And the things also not only start from the manufacturing or the factories, it even starts from the home. Now with also, when I was interacting with most of the CIOs, they see themselves more as an enabler. The technology transformation or the digital transformation is such a big topic that, only CIO and couple of the business leaders, they cannot drive it. You need to democratize it, and that is the key. And that's how, as an enabler, CIO should focus on bringing the right governance and the platforms, including the security. And then business should be able to do a lot of development themselves. So this kind of fostering I have seen, which has helped to adopt technology in a much faster way that we imagined. And as you said, like nothing changed, but adoption was faster. The criteria of failing fast was very well understood and adopted. It is no longer a stigma that you are carrying out a product development or trying to help a business if you fail. It's accepted, and this has fueled the overall fast tracking of adoption of both digital as well as the transformation that the CIOs have been carrying out across the organization.
Great. So, driving through what I could get a sense about and thinking about, I think it's not getting everything disrupted, rather taking that disruption to a logical level where it actually turns the business around, and where I think Ashok was talking about it is fastness and making it happen quickly, turning it around by using digital and other technologies, where cloud or SaaS might have played a lot of big role, because you don't develop anything more rather than look at configuring, which is faster than doing what traditionally used to be. How do you think these new techniques, new technologies, or new ways of doing things, whether it is we talk about SaaS-based model, whether we talk about cloud-based model, moving away from CapEx to OpEx, it helped us as a CIOs in turning the things faster. And I love that spin saying, no more we take that much time, we turn around in 3 months. And Ganesh, I'm just picking that word because that's something which every business, every CEO is actually looking at, right? And something, if any thoughts, how that helped, how it turned around, and what were I would like also to hear out, because audience would be interested, what were those top 2 or 3 challenges you faced and how did you overcome them? Because something which we can take it back also among ourselves that can help imbibe and taking the next levels into that, right?
Sure.
Anybody wants to take it? Yeah.
So if I can take a stab at it, Bharat.
Ganesh?
So, I think it's pretty much what some of the co-panelists were mentioning. The first part, I think, for a successful journey is making sure that you have a cross-functional team that really starts getting into it and starts looking at saying, what exactly are you trying to do over here? And anchor it very strongly with the business value and the business driver that you're trying to really get it going towards. It's not that it wasn't there earlier, to your point, Bharat, but I think the place which really changed was this became an imperative, like someone was mentioning, both for the business and for IT. It was no longer seen as something that business gave you something and then IT did something and went back. I think that just got completely crunched, because now you were looking at saying, let's do this together. Let's figure out what are the options that we've got and let's kind of take it together. So that was point number 1. Point number 2 was, I think you drove the change, not just at the top level, at least the initiatives I saw which went across very, very effectively, was that you had people who were there across the levels. So people who were in the trenches, the mid-managers in between, you kind of took them all into confidence and went through with it and started looking at saying, what are possible things that may not work, given what you guys have seen on the ground? And hence, what do we need to plan for? I think that also helped a lot in making sure that when you got it, the kind of things that you were looking at, the risk mitigation that you were doing, you were getting a lot more things in place on that. The third one, which I would think which really helped, was by working along with the team also as a talent coach. So looking at saying, what are things where you're likely to fail in terms of either understanding, adoption, taking to the customer. Like in our case, when we talked to the platform, there was 4 doctors. We got the field teams trained, and they were the ones who went and interned, explained it to the doctor. Guys who were people who knew, who were people who were pharmacy, graduates, people who were understood more of products in terms of the pharma pills, were going and explaining technology to the doctors, which meant there was a lot of change management in the background and training that needed to go into place. To me, I think these are the big ones that we saw, along with just having, again, to reiterate, that strong focus on customer centricity. What does your customer really want? In our case, it was a doctor who was a customer for the example I gave you. But when looking at any other example, what exactly is the customer looking for? How does it align with it? I think that's what really helped in getting it to go a lot faster.
Great.
So Bharat, just to sort of add, right? I think a couple of things that I saw, right, and I'll sort of restrict to 2, but a couple of things that I saw, right, which really made this whole journey much faster. And I think the good part is, I think this trend is going to sustain, and I think it's just not a bubble, right? So it's going to sustain. 2 things, right? One is that, Ganesh also alluded to it, right? Business alignment, right? So now the technology team, whether it's, the IT team, technology team, IT apps, digital apps, whatever, right? They're all working very close with business, right? And business is defining the problems. Sometimes we ourselves are coming forward and saying that, hey, this is the way to do your work better. So they're more open to ideas because they know that that technology is going to give them the necessary fillip that they need to actually drive their business faster, right? So that collaboration really helps. In this collaboration, also what happened is we as IT team members also were pushed to the limit because some places we ourselves didn't know answers. And what was happening earlier, if I did not understand cloud enough, or if I did not understand my business enough, I would just be quiet and I'll sit on the fences and I'll hope, and that's sort of the reality. Sometimes we all hope and wish that the problem just goes away on its own, right? Or a consultant or a partner will come and solve the problem, right? But I think that's not what happened now. I think it was maybe we just got a little bit of breather while the IT teams were extremely busy enabling work from home and stuff like that. But I think we all got a little bit of breather and we pushed ourselves to understand the business better, right? A lot of my friends and colleagues went ahead, and including me, went on to Coursera, did courses around understanding business better. For me, because pharma was new, I was sort of trying to understand pharma as an industry better and healthcare as an industry better. So I think all of us as technology leaders took that step to educate ourselves, not only on technology, but also on technology, let's say newer technologies in cloud computing, nano, and et cetera. But we also took the extra effort to understand what the business was saying. Because at least sometimes I would come out of business meetings where my business head, for a specific SBU would come and say, hey, Gaurav, this is what we want, and A, B, C, D, and I would take notes and I would say, yes. But 50% of those things, I would have no clue on what he's just gone back and said. So it forced me to come back, do a lot of research, learn, and then say, hey, here is a solution 1, solution 2, which can probably help solve your problem, right? So we've actually taken the effort as IT leaders to become business leaders, to learn more ourselves, and then push our teams to also learn. So that, I think, got us closer to business over these 2 years. And that, I think, we were sort of unknowingly trying to shy away from that problem. But I think this has forced us to sort of, come closer to business, understand business better, and understand technology better, where it's no longer, the vendor coming and saying that, sir, this is the best thing to do. I can now confidently challenge that individual because I'm well-read myself. Right. So I think this is a good trend, right? To sustain that business.
Very important point which you raised about or talked about is knowing your business is just like something, knowing your partner. I mean, it's not about that I just need to know myself and I feel myself kind of about it. It has to be that I need to have that domain expertise, if I put it, and I need to get into that shoes to start feeling what they are feeling. And perhaps that's what you were alluding to, Gaurav.
Right.
That results in a bonding, because then I'm not talking Greek and Latin. I'm talking in their language, what they are talking about. And perhaps then they start, that helps in building the credibility. And then when that credibility gets built, I think is where the aspects of delivering fast and all that comes into it. I heard one very important point, which many of you just touched upon and said training. And field people went for training and all that. And also another aspect, which is talent associated with the training. How did you handle, or how are you handling, Ashok, the talent part of it? Gaurav said it's damn hot. Is it really hot for you, or it's okay? You are good on that. Well, how you are managing that challenge? I'm sure all 6 of us are facing that. I think it's more severe than a pandemic, to be honest, right?
So technology upgrade or technology obsolescence is very fast. And coupled with COVID, we needed a lot of innovation, lot of creativity, and this left brain to right brain thinking more because of lot of constraints, especially, for example, pharma, they were working 24/7. And the manufacturing, non-pharma or non-essential, as per the government, they were stopped from working and they had to anyway pay their employees. So a lot of ER issues came up. So again, talent retention, technology obsolescence or technology is changing very fast. So what we had done is we had adopted a hybrid model where based on whatever we need to do faster, we have to first provide access to everybody because ours being manufacturing, so immediately came down to 0. But within a month, again, it started with say 30-40% and close to 100%. However, suddenly we need to give everybody access. We need to see that it is live and running, and sales and marketing has to anyway work. Dispatches have to happen. So all those things, again, there's a lot of creativity, innovation required at that point of time. So we also saw what is the latest, what is happening, and how fast we can get it. As many of us have already pointed out, reduce the regular process and go on a fast track, especially on the pharma side or especially on the food chain side. So that we also adopted, and we took some innovative and creative steps so that everybody got the access, adopted latest technology. For example, even these teams, etc., flourished during the COVID.
Yeah, but these are the tools and technologies which you're talking. I'm talking more about the talent part of it, and particularly with the kind of sudden thing of doing 2 years job in 2 months itself, and the talent become really hard. How are we handling that as a challenge? Because ultimately the talent pool is finite, and that finite pool is creating 70% was actually it was on a lower side. And I've seen people talking about 2.5, 3x also about it, and saying, I've already got 2 more offers, and no more they are doing, no more it's about jobs. It's about job shopping, no hopping, it's shopping, right? So any thoughts, Milan, you to add about it, or anybody, Ashok? Yeah, Ashok.
Yeah, so basically, what you have touched upon and what Gaurav was saying is very correct. See, today, earlier, we successfully have had adopted models of, a lean IT team and more of outsourcing, and, the partner will take the load and all that. Models were pretty good. But, very interestingly, probably first time I am in my 25 plus years of experience, I am seeing partners also getting really challenged because it is they are also really facing the same problem of attrition. And so because as we all have discussed, 100% increase, and we have a fixed contract with them, and we can't suddenly increase 100%, and then they get stuck with the discussion, and then we have to let go that guy. So it's not just our talent, and actually it's a larger problem in the IT universe, and I hope it is a bubble and it will burst. But we have to survive. So I think a couple of things. I mean, connected to your previous question also, I have been a proponent for cloud and SaaS, and we have been able to push a lot of enterprise grade applications to SaaS. So that has, in a sense, helped to sort of to regulate the need of talent, because a lot is already baked in and it is already there. But still, I feel that talent is the lifeline. So without that, and any disruptions is going to be costly. So that problem continues. The only thing what we are actually trying to do is, hey, we are trying to not just about training. We are trying to see how better employee engagement opportunities are created. How that one team, that's also a big problem. Being remotely working and not seeing people each other. In my team there are people who are joined I've never seen. So those connects, the physical connects are really really becoming, making things even worse. So all that is actually putting pressure on that spirit of togetherness and all that. So we are in our own ways trying to connect with the help of HR and so many things. We are actually trying to connect and engage people, and so that the things move on, that the tempo is maintained. But it is challenging, and I think it is a universal problem and nothing to do with any one particular company or any industry. I think IT, the entire industry is reeling through this trouble.
So,
And
yeah,
some very interestingly, what I hear is that some of the IT companies who sort of let go people are struggling now to take people in, because the confidence have been lost, and so much of turbulence. So I think the only way I see is the only way is to balance your game between insourcing and outsourcing, and adopt more employee engagement options, and more of training can be one way of motivating people. But there are many more things other than monetary benefits who can actually make people bond and engage them better. Right? That's what we are actually trying to do.
okay. So maybe I hear that upskilling them is one of the area or aspect which you are trying to adopt to get them in. But sometimes I do not know how other members on this conversation feel. But if I'm getting 2.5x or 3x, I'll be really tempted. I would training I can get on Udemy on my own. What am I going to get? But this wave is not something I'm going to get every time about it. So let me ride the wave. Isn't it something like that kind of feeling? And perhaps I'm just looking at, because it's as you rightly said, Ashok, it's a universal problem. Everybody is facing, everybody is dealing with it. But it's also that if we can bring some thoughts about how should we deal with it, because that's something which everybody who would be listening this conversation of ours will be interested in saying, hey, how have you handled in your organization, and maybe I can take 2 cents out of it and do the same. If anybody has any thoughts around that.
I think Milan had a point, right?
Yeah, Milan.
So specifically because I represent the automotive industry. So what I've seen was during the
You have
whole
a bigger problem of chip also as such, right?
so what I've seen was like there were always two set of the skill set or the people or the talent that we had. One was always in a kind of hunt to find something different, but other there was a set of more than 60% of the talent pool who literally was passionate enough to get closer to the business, trying to themselves, you don't have to motivate them to learn Python in another 10 days, but the business challenges was also promoting them to take up the new challenges, and it was so self motivating for them to do that. And again, as you rightly said, now we have in the automotive the chip issue. In the past we had Suez Canal, then also during the COVID we had the traceability of the raw material. So these were really, I saw that many of our data and AI guys, they were so much self motivated to sit with the business, trying to understand the problem and provide them the solution. These were, and I cannot believe that these guys were not getting any offers outside, but it was all the challenging environment which helped them to support business. And then gradually also I've seen that during the whole pandemic, the concept for the whole product team, where we have business and IT all coming together, sitting and trying to solve either the issues or even talking about the different business model, was that bonding which was really kept them moving. So again, as I said, like it was twofold. One was always churning, where there is no other option, but you have to go to the market and try to bring the more talent. But the other was, and these are the guys who stayed. They have learned the best experience in their life, I will say.
Great. I think when you have talked about challenges and you counted about supply chains and definitely being from an automotive chip is another one that the two gentlemen we have got from pharma is, I mean, hats off to them pushing to the limits for having all that what had been done and achieved about it. Another challenge which we have been earlier also, but it has picked up in recent times is about cybersecurity. And that had been with more so with people now working for remote, like Ashok, he said, I've never seen their face even. Who are these guys and what they do about it in the team, and similar will be the cases in other teams also within the organization. How it has been panned out, and how have you, in your capacity as an individual and in organizations, taken care of it? So because in India alone, by one statistics, they were have in an year more than 35,000 cases of cyber attacks happened, and this industry itself is evolving at with about $600 billion and going by about 18% CAGR as over year by one of the studies about it. So how you in your organizations have done that? Just the traditional ways would not have been the right thing to do, only because with people being remote, everything being remote, partner being remote, supply chains being remote, so on and so forth. Any thoughts from anybody? Would like to take a step or jab?
So I think I'll just, go ahead, Ashok.
Go ahead, Gaurav. No problem.
No, all I was just saying, I think the only thing that has helped is to be a little bit more vigilant. And then expand the boundaries, like you mentioned, right? From looking at only within the organization to also the partner ecosystem, right? And, make sure that the partner ecosystem is equally secure. And, all the new technologies that we are putting in, there is a far more rigorous process now to evaluate technology from a security perspective. So those rules, that rule book has got updated. So those rules have got updated, and that is something which is always, I think we'll always be trailing the cyber hack community because they are far ahead of us, right? So I think it's a best effort basis, but I think there has been a lot more collaboration also in this space. Not only when I call up fellow CIOs or CISOs, right? Really understanding from them on what they are doing. Apart from technology adoption, obviously security comes in as a point. So I think that collaboration has really helped. And like I said, making sure that even within the organization, there is a heightened level of understanding, which is there, right? So I think some of the usual stuff, but I think the expanding to partner ecosystem, becoming more stringent on product evaluations, right at the core, making sure that everything is secure. And if some of us are using, DevOps, then it's more DevSecOps now rather than DevOps. I think those are some of the changes which have come in, right, with this.
Sure. Ashok K, you was trying to say something?
Yeah. With regards to security, what we saw pre-COVID as well on the COVID side, that there was a lot of both sides perception on the security with respect to cloud. So we clearly saw that the security in cloud, mainly the major cloud partners, cloud adoption OEMs, where we could see that whenever we move, we do the cloud adoption, we saw that the security has enhanced. For example, the CSA group and a lot of data centers. Data centers, you can mostly vouch for security because they house hundreds of global customers and multiple DRs. So your data application or your entire IT data center is secure. So in that way, there's a lot of improvement during the COVID as well. And because of the stringent regulations already adopted on the cloud, with equal to the on-premise security. So that positive we are seeing. However, as we have pointed out, the other side, the hacker side, or that side is anyway catching up far ahead. So that is why we have the 0-day threats, all these things happening. The control centers which take away and demand ransomware. So it is anyway continuous fight going on, and still we have security breaches coming up from top companies as well, data centers as well, and even on the financial side. So lot of positives, but still we still keep fighting, and still a lot of technology evolves. So it is overall it is a positive side.
Great. Ganesh, you were trying to say something?
No, I think Gaurav and Ashok covered it pretty much covered it completely, Bharat. I think to me, the bigger challenge is exactly what Gaurav pointed out, which is making sure that insiders and you build people internally on awareness, because it's not just about the professional parts, on their personal side as well. They are using a lot of technology. So how can you make sure they don't get stuck? I mean, we were unpleasantly surprised when we did cyber trainings across the teams, and we figured that in every batch of about 25 to 30 that we had, there were at least one or two who had some attack of ransomware on the personal side. So it was shocking actually. And I think the only way we really see it, while you can keep adding technology layers, I think unless people keep reaching out, and I think the problem is we are very trusting. So that's the biggest catch when you look at phishing or any of the other attacks, is how do you make sure that you have a sense of saying that this may not be what it is, and keep taking back and build security by design, like Gaurav was pointing out. I think he covered it very, very nicely.
Great, fantastic. I think this is a very interesting and topic with having a lot of facets built into it, and with the leaders sitting over here, we can talk till cows come home. But unfortunately, the clock is telling that we have gone beyond our time, which was budgeted for us to talk about it. And one thing that has come out very clearly is that it's that we as the CIOs not only have to be business savvy, but also start getting the domain expertise of the things, if I have to put it up in the manner which I got it. The second, it's not about just the speed, it's about building and making things happen one by one, pillar by pillar, creating the credibility so that you work in a collaborative environment to take it forward. The third, absolutely the talent pool is hurting and haunting all of us. Like Gaurav said, it's a bubble. I hope this bubble bursts faster than it is, but it's more serious than the pandemic itself as of now. And yes, the security challenges galore that had always been there, but being a little more vigilant, and this time being pandemic and people talking about cybersecurity, I think somewhere the awareness for cybersecurity has gone miles up, particularly with the cases like Jamtaras and all that happening. So people have got vigilant. OTP nahi batane ka hai, right? Kind of stuff, whatever said and done around that. So that actually, with the word that was used called democratization, has brought it back to the enterprises also. I would like to just say thank you very much. Really appreciate it. It was very interesting conversation we had over here. I hope those who will be listening to all of us over here, and rather all of you, would be getting some insight and which they can take it back and work on that. But thank you very much for your time coming over here, we conversing together, and really appreciate Sanjay for providing the podium and taking it forward from here. Yeah, you have a great evening and a great night. I know some of us will be having other preoccupations to catch up with, but thank you very much.
All right.
Right. Thanks, Bharat.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Good night.
Thank you.